great guy is really friendly. Impossible to act with many times because when the camera is on behind him and he's giving lines, he'll be doing jokes to you when you're acting.
You have to avoid all of that, control, focus.
Yeah.
If I may ask, what is treating an actor well in that standards? Like,
See, I'll tell you, I acted in a movie under a big banner.
which movie is that, sir?
I won't tell the name because I'm scared of them, that's why. Okay? Because that's how Kannada industry is. Okay.
So looking at the lens of Bollywood and all the other Tollywoods, the films, how do you land a film?
Cinema industry sees me. If they cast me in a character role, typically they'll cast me in such roles: cop, head of organization, lawyer, very successful or big lawyer.
Poet Majnu Sultanpuri was jailed for 1 year for calling Nehru Hitler ka chela. 1 year.
Majnu
One of our greatest
Sultanpuri,
songwriters and
lyricist.
poets brought it in jail. Did you know that? First democratically elected communist government in Kerala was dismissed.
First
Congress
time
president
used
said communist parties wouldn't be allowed to
Article
participate in general
356.
elections. Stanley Woolpert's book 9 Hours to Rama was banned. The book Chandra Mohini was banned. Audrey Menon's The Ramayana was banned. Campbell's The Heart of India was banned. Koestler's The Lotus and the Robot was banned. Import of any newspaper that undermined friendly relations. No, I need to go on.
Oh my God.
See, Donald Trump, can act so boldly, crazily if you wish, whatever you like you can say, okay? So that he can do these completely extreme things is because he knows he can never become president ever again.
Versatility is not about doing many things, but doing many things well. Well, with a line like this, it has to be one Mr. Prakash Belawadi, sir, on Just Curious English. So lastly, previously my interaction with him was for Just Curious Kannada. As Kannada is my first language and the language that I think in, flawlessly things just flowed. But now, with you in the studio, sir, firstly, we are meeting after a year. How are you doing? And a lot has changed from last time,
In the sense?
In the cap and the whole look.
Should I remove the cap? Is it okay? I forgot.
No. This is so cool.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
is it
you.
also a kind of a reflection of what phase of life you're in?
No, last year I spent a lot of time, as you know, in Australia and also I did 76 shows, in 28 in Melbourne, 28 in Sydney and 20 in New York. So
Wow.
I spent a lot of time there, and typically when I'm abroad, I wear caps. I may have lost about 2 lakhs worth of caps,
What?
because it's not something I'm used to. So wherever I go, I lose the cap and come. And caps are very expensive,
2 lakhs?
Yeah,
That's a big number.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is a gift from an Australian friend.
Uh-huh.
This cap, so I had 3 of such caps. One, I've lost 2 of them, but this one I have. So
It's okay, sir. It's just the cap you've lost. But you're always building your identity through these many years with multiple things that you do, be it theatre, be it journalism, be it activism, or be it just the curious soul that you are. So, 2025 it is. What are you looking from life is a question probably I would just like to start our conversation with.
I am 64 now, and I've been promising myself, it's like that movie Revolutionary Road, that you'll do something important, that's something that's important to yourself. And I want to write, and I want to write about my life and my experiences as a set of 3 novels,
Oh,
which roughly each were covering 1/3 of my life. And it should be a kind of biography of the places that I've experienced the most, which is the city of Bangalore.
okay.
And I've been telling myself that I'll do it. And I've always worried whether I should do it in Kannada or in English. But now talking to you, when I'm thinking about it, because the answer has suddenly come to me, maybe I should just write it as it comes to me, in Kannada, some part in English, and I should not care. I don't know if anybody has done that, but I want to try it.
Wow. While I think you were conversing, you spoke about, you promised yourself to do something which is important to yourself. with a man like you and the journey that you've had, so many years in the industry, donning multiple hats, what did you mean when you said doing something important to yourself at this phase?
There's a thing in Christianity, of in Catholic Christianity, of the confessional, you know, uh, whatever its ritual meaning is, whatever whether it takes you to heaven or to whatever they think it takes them to. I'm not interested in that, but I acknowledge that there is a cleansing of the conscience by admitting if you've done something wrong. And when I say wrong, I don't mean necessarily sin, or making a mistake, or taking some professional course instead of another professional course, or taking some job or a career instead of another career, marrying some person instead of another person, or whatever kind of thing. That's not what I mean. I mean, it's a set of follies that we are, we never really know what we are doing. We do something anyway, and what we do is dictated, a lot by peer pressure, by circumstances, by lack of knowledge, mostly ignorance, and a lot of it, what is like imitation because of peer pressure and what is fashionable at the time. And nobody knows. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But one thing is for sure, if you're passionate and dedicated, committed to doing something well, very often it turns out very well for you. So I want to record this like a story to myself. I don't know who will read it, but I, for one, would have composed it in my head.
Encapsulated the whole journey again, huh?
Yeah. I'll go through it again in my head at least. So
I see a lot of
I'll understand it.
smirk on your face.
Because when I say I do it for myself, it's because this is not like a professional thing to do. I'm not a professional writer, and I hope one of my great fears is that if I write in Kannada first, these Kannada Sahitis and even worse, the only artistic people worse than Kannada Sahitis are Kannada Sahitya critics. I don't want this to fall into their hands and they will comment on it. I'm hoping that they will see me as not important enough to read if I do write in Kannada, which I feel tempted to. So let me see. I'll write it, and I will write a preface saying, please, you don't have to read it. You don't feel obligated. I want to write as a special request to Sahitis, Sahitis and Kannada Sahitya critics. Kannada Sahitis and Kannada Sahitya critics. You should not read this book I'm suggesting. I'm writing it for myself and people like me who are neither Sahitis, nor professional thinkers, nor professional intellectuals, So, yeah.
What's a fear? Because you mentioned you had 3 novels, like 1/3, 2/3, and the last phase of
there
the
is
life.
no fear. It's just that I realize it takes commitment. Like you have to write every day, and that means I should not do take so much acting jobs, which I'm okay with. I'm already beginning to say no to many Kannada films.
Okay.
Some Hindi films also I begin to say no to. Okay. So I think there'll be less and less work to do, and and people will lose interest in me also. I think they'll not ask me to do as many roles as they're asking. I am older and I'll become even more older. So that will stop, I think. So that doesn't bother me that much, because I'm not somebody who wants to be known as an actor. I'd rather be known as a theatre person, mainly as a theatre director, and hopefully as a playwright, because I take up novels and convert them to plays quite a lot these days. So I would like to be known as a writer also in some way, but as writer as it means in English, not as it means in Kannada. Because in Kannada, writers are people in government offices. You see their photographs on the walls. They're writers.
Like our Kuempus, like the Bendres.
No, they're actually the only people who won the Jnanapeetha award.
Okay.
Which is a private award. You know that, no? It's not a government award.
Right.
Yeah. So even in government offices, in a government that also gives awards, they don't put the photographs of writers they have awarded as the first list. The first awards are always the Jnanapeetha awards,
Why is
and
that? Just because it's too celebrated.
I think in my, this is anecdotal. Among the people I've met, most people don't know that the Jnanapeetha award is a award by a private trust. It's not by the government of India. Most people don't know. Very few people actually know. And then they react with great shock. It's a good, they get that impression also because I think the award is given at Vigyan Bhavan. So it looks like a government award, but it's not.
Can you throw some light as to what this award is? Who came up with this?
See, the Times of India family, they're founders of the Times of India group, the Bennett and Coleman group. I don't know at what time it was Bennett Coleman became part of the Times of India family. The Jains actually took control of it. I have no idea. But they formed this Jnanapeetha trust, I think. And they appoint a panel, and that panel gives these awards.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So there comes another I was like, okay.
So
Yes.
it's not a government. It's not like, see, the other awards are different. I'll give you an example, like film awards, for instance. So the government of the day will form a Minister of Information and Broadcasting. They will, that minister, will form a jury. Okay. So let us say it is the BJP, government. So the BJP government, with extraordinary foolishness, for instance, got that Israeli guy to head the film jury for film awards. You remember a couple of years ago? And he came and bashed Kashmir Files, saying, called it a propaganda film, that he was shocked and all that, And that kind of mistake will happen only with the BJP government, because, overall the Sangh Parivar from the past has never been that much invested in, in the fine arts or in high culture, of artistic cinema and literature and all. They've not been, their main focus has been Hindutva and they'll know a lot from that side perhaps, okay, but they don't know this. So they can make mistakes, which is okay. I mean, I don't find it as, I'm just laughing because it was quite funny that they were so shocked by the jury they appointed. Now, this will never happen, let us say, with the Congress-led establishment.
Okay.
They're very bright, and even brighter than the Congress in this regard will be the communist, the leftist, the old leftist, not leftist today. Today, everybody is a leftist,
If you can pause, what's the difference between old leftist and the current scenario?
See, the old idea of leftist was somebody who is inspired by a series of thinkers, who thought about capitalism, of surplus production, and how there should be equitable sharing of resources. How they thought about of a class system. An economic class system, which also could become a social class system, and how you need to eliminate people who control capital, who don't do any work themselves, who make money out of money itself, but they employ labor in a kind of meaningless way, where the labor does not know what it's making the product for. So they create surplus, and they create markets, and they manipulate the markets, and so on, So Marx and Engels, from whom the idea of Marxism first came, and a kind of series of revision revision of that idea. Actually, it's a negative word in the old left. The revisionism itself is a bad thing.
Oh.
That you dilute it for convenience, for instance, So, but for circumstances, it was varied and reinterpreted as a Leninism, and then later as Stalinism, and there were people who rebelled against it, So there was a Trotskyism, So we have ourselves an M.N. Roy, like S.R. Bommai, the father of Baswaraj Bommai. He was an M.N. Royist, for instance, He was an atheist. He didn't believe in rituals, astrology and stuff. A very rare politician. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there were all kinds of things. The quarrels of ideas. We have Lohia, a kind of unique Indian socialism that he thought of, Ram Manohar Lohia. That's the old left. The new left is people who outrage on Facebook and all that. That's the new left.
The keyboard warriors. Huh?
They're not what they're fighting for also is not very clear. They get very upset, that much I know. They're the ones who shed tears when stand-up comedians are harassed by government, for instance. Once Prajavani asked me, since I don't know whether you'll keep this story, but I'll just say, once Prajavani asked me to participate in a weekend debate that they do. Where you write, one person writes for an issue and one person writes against the issue.
Okay.
And this comedian, stand-up comic called Munawar Farooqi. Okay. I don't like stand-up comedians, that much. I used to follow, George Carlin and people like that. I don't think I follow Indian comedians that much.
Seinfeld?
Yeah?
Seinfeld?
I've heard of him. Jerry Seinfeld? No, I have not seen any show of his. But I've old ones. I'm really old, okay? So I know that kind of thing. But that was not available then. I know them now because, those videos are now available. Okay, so
Internet, yes.
I know them, so. But these stand-up comedians have made a big name in India now. Okay,
right.
They're very well known. Many Indians are very, very well known. One of them is this Munawar Farooqi.
Okay.
And one day, apparently, he said, I read in the papers, it was reported that he said that he was very hurt that some show of his, some Sanghi people were going to block. And he gave up stand-up comedy, which is, I think, quite tragic for himself and the people who follow him.
Okay.
And it's hard to sell it to me that it's very tragic for India also. But some people have told me that I'm really like ignorant and don't understand this. I don't actually understand it that much. But in this case, they wanted me to write in support of the people who are harassing him.
Oh.
And they would get somebody to write, in favor of Munawar Farooqi and his pain in not being treated badly by the Sangh Parivar. I don't know what he expected the Sangh Parivar will treat him as. I mean, if you don't like them, I don't think they will like you that much. Okay? Now, I can't comment with more authenticity than that because I've never watched a Munawar Farooqi show. Then I told Prajavani that I'm not going to write what they asked me to write.
Okay.
If they ask me to write, I'll write. And they have to print it. Otherwise, they don't have to ask me. Then they said, so, okay, you write whatever you like. Then I said, to give him, the performer, the protection that he deserves, that is his right by the Constitution of India, to give him the protection to do his performance is a fundamental duty of government. And it is the right of people who don't like what he says to protest against him. But the protesters should be given another separate venue where they do not obstruct the performance in any way. They can stand somewhere else and say protest against it. And that protection, for them to protest also should be given. And that is also a fundamental duty of the government, is what I wrote. And I also wrote, there used to be a stand-up comedian in Kannada called Master Hiranaya.
Yes.
And the followers of the present Chief Minister of Karnataka, claiming they're followers of the present Chief Minister of Karnataka. Okay? They went and attacked him, scared him. He spoke at some venue in Mysore and went away. And they went to that venue after that, threw chairs and issued threats. And he went to the Chief Minister who was in Mysore at that time, fortunately. And the Chief Minister was gracious enough to arrange an police escort, for Hiranaya, which is actually a blessing and, to me, in my opinion, a warning, as well, And Master Hiranaya, maybe one of our greatest stand-up comedians in Kannada, his variety of it was, he would do it in a theatre show. He would do great monologues. Greatly popular monologues, okay? Some of it may be dodgy, you may like it, you may not like it, okay? But the thing is, he was very popular.
Right.
And no chief minister in the past had ever attacked him. And after that, Master Hiranaya, till he died, never went on stage again. And I did not see anybody shedding tears for him, I said, in that article. The reason I tell you something like this is, everything is a lot more complicated than we think.
Today.
No, every time it was. But the people in power understood it was very complicated. So they thought a lot before they acted. Now they do knee-jerk reactions. They act very quickly. They talk very quickly. Can make fools of themselves by saying too much too quickly, right? So I realized that I have done all this. What was fortunate for the public was that I was not important and I didn't do much damage. So I want to write because of that.
There are too many chapters here. So I think in your journey, taking the example from Master Hiranaya's case that you just mentioned, if I have to give a parallel for today, we just discussed off the camera about Kunal Kamra facing a similar incident. And today the whole, the ecosystem has changed, wherein knee-jerk reactions have been taken by power and people representing power. Where is this headed? What do you think is happening?
See, all power is like this, It's the nature of power. So maybe you should have term limits. See, the reason, Donald Trump, can act so boldly, crazily if you wish, whatever you like you can say, okay? So that he can do these completely extreme things is because he knows he can never become president ever again. So if you have term limits, what will happen is, you understand you have this chance, this from action to cut is just that one take. So in India, in the US, it's just 2 takes. Okay, you have to finish it by then. So I feel
3, sir?
2. No, you can only do 2 terms in the US.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think Obama also has done only 2, right?
Yeah, you can't do more than 2 terms.
Right.
Actually, they wanted term limits for even the for elected representatives, in both the Senate and Congress and House of Representatives. But they kept it for themselves but limited it for the president.
Right.
But whatever it was, if Narendra Modi had been given 2 terms only, when he got elected in 2019, in 2014, okay, he gets elected and he begins to do a series of things. By 2016, he'll begin to worry about 2019, and then he'll begin to sober down and soften some things so he can win again. And when he wins again, okay, if he's going to win again, he's going to moderate himself in some direction so that he can win again, right? So it should have been the other way around. You promised something, you came to power, and you have 5 years to complete what you want to do, and should not be given another chance. Then it would have been different, maybe.
Right.
I'm not blaming him. Given the way things are going now, if there's an election, I'm going to vote for him and campaign for him again, But I feel there should have been term limits. So your question, where is this going, is if you keep electing somebody in power, staying in power can become the most important thing for that person, right? However, I think, the outrage sometimes, if not too many times, for my comfort at least, is fashionable rather than meaningful. Because there was no outrage. There was not that much outrage about what happened to Master Hiranyaya, for instance.
Were the times different? Was social media not there? What's so different
Look,
today?
Mr. Siddaramaiah was the Chief Minister of Karnataka in his previous term very recently. Just 7 years ago, he was Chief Minister. So it's not there was Facebook, there was Google, there was Twitter, there was everything. I'm not. Look, it may hurt when I say this, but the outrage is very selective always. Okay. Yeah, it is very selective. See,
True that.
I'll give you an example. The previous Siddaramaiah government banned 2 books in Karnataka, written in Kannada. Okay.
That is?
Yogesh Master wrote a book on Ganesha. Okay. I've not read the book. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it was banned. Okay. It was banned. There was another person who wrote a book on Valmiki. But when that book was banned, I'll tell you what they said in the assembly. That all the copies of the book should be collected, okay, and those books should be set on fire along with the person who wrote it.
Damn.
Okay. Today's left is like that. Uncivilized, uncouth. Okay. People, that your daughter should not marry. Okay. Those are the people that are in the houses of parliament and houses of the assembly and council in Karnataka. Many of them are like that. Okay. That is what they said. Actually, they should have been in prison when they said that.
Yeah.
Elected representatives. That's what they said. What I'm saying is there was no outrage.
Yes.
There was a huge outrage at that time because there was this lady who wrote a book on Hindus, the Hindus. She wrote a book. Actually, I don't know what that category is. The word itself is not Indian. Hindu is not an Indian word. Anyway, so Wendy Doniger, I think her name is.
Okay.
Okay. You can check Wendy Doniger. Okay, her name is. Her book was on the New York Times bestseller list at that time. Okay. But there was a publisher. She had a publisher who had printed copies of her book and he pulped those books. The government did not ban it. Okay. The government of India did not ban the book. But it was pulped. Previously, there was a book on Gandhi that was banned. Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses was banned in India. There was no outrage. Of course, Satanic Verses a long time ago, there was no scope for outrage. But I feel typically in this country, if there's a Desi or a Indic or a...
Agenda behind?
No, everybody has agenda. Why would you write a book otherwise, Nobody's asking you to write a book. Like you have not been commissioned. If somebody has commissioned you to write the history of India, that is an agenda already, right? So basically everybody has an agenda. My thing is, what is the agenda? If the agenda suits the government, then let the book be there, even if it's controversial. If the UPA government was there, Kerala story would have been banned. Even Kashmir Files may have been banned. Right? It depends on who is in government. If this government is there, what will they do? Let us see what are the possible things they can do. Kunal Kamra is talking against Narendra Modi. If Kunal Kamra is running a company or there is a sponsor that he has, the sponsor's company may get a ED raid or income tax raid or something.
Or the location got vandalized. That anyways has happened.
That is rowdyism. That is against the law. See, different things. Vandalize anyone. Some guy got killed in the street. yesterday, right? That that Sushil Shetty or somebody, he got killed. And the people who came and killed him, did it where video cameras were on them. They took their time to kill him on the street. That kind of action is there. That is not done by government. Is it correct to say that was done by government? That's not correct. There are vandals. Okay, they may get government protection later. Okay, that possibility is there, so they can do it with impunity. Because they think nothing can happen to them. That kind of thing can happen. Then you should blame the government quite correctly. So if the vandals who did it to the venue which hosted him, and they feel free that in a BJP government they can do what they want. Okay, so if they feel that the government in power of the time can do it, your opinion should be this: that it's a crime in any case. See, if a crime happens, if you're genuinely a law-abiding person, whether you're in the left wing or right wing or middle wing or no wing, whichever you are, if you're a law-abiding person, if somebody does a crime, you should say it's a crime without finding out who did it. Right? Today the outrage is not like that. Once the crime happens, you find out who did it and then say, look, this person has cause to do it. Actually, whether you have cause or not, the crime is a crime in any case. Okay? The reason why they tie that black cloth to the lady, who is holding the takdi, is that, because you just implement the law, and you hear evidence and go by it. This is what it is.
Right.
The trial is whether it's a crime or not. That's all. Whether an offense has been committed or not. That is the trial, right? The outrage on media, whether it's social media or unfortunately even regular media, they have as much credibility or a little more maybe, I don't know, than social media. I can't see that they have greater credibility than that. Because which paper will give what opinion on an issue.
Today.
Okay? So I lose the track on the question itself, that where is it going? It is going exactly where it was before. It is just that it is amplified now in social media, so you think it's become much worse. It's not become much worse. It was always this bad. Nehru was a great, censor. In his time, he censored many things, So he got angry with the lyricists, that's the kind of person he was too.
What's the story? Because I'm not sure if many of us know this.
There is an extremely famous rant by Anand Ranganathan. I think there are 29, he lists some 29 or 59 things that Nehru banned.
Poet Majru Sultanpuri was jailed for 1 year for calling Nehru Hitler ka chela. 1 year.
Majru
One of our
Sultan,
greatest
the
songwriters and
lyricist.
poets brought it in jail. Did you know that? First democratically elected communist government in Kerala was dismissed.
First
Congress
time
president
used
said communist parties wouldn't be allowed to
Article
participate in general
356.
elections. Stanley Wopert's book 9 Hours to Rama was banned. The book Chandra Mohini was banned. Audrey Menon's De Ramayana was banned. Campbell's The Heart of India was banned. Koestler's The Lotus and the Robot was banned. Import of any newspaper that undermined friendly relations. No, I need to go on. Because this rubbish fake narrative needs to be busted right here and right now. Flischter's Aisha was banned. Bertrand Russell's Unarmed Victory was banned. Robson's film 9 Hours to Rama was banned. Sadhmi's Markane Somnath was banned. Robert Taylor's The Dark Urge was banned. Selling Lady Chatelier's Lover was banned. The book What Has Religion Done for Mankind was banned. Ratnawat's Bhupat Singh was banned. Import of any obscene drawing or painting was banned. Mrinal Sen's film Neel Akshar.
Oh my God. What a censored world we all are living. Depends on
So,
how deep
so it's just that
digging.
it's just that you should play a little bit of that, because I'll say just that we are pretending that things have got worse. What has got worse is the quality, is the quality of opinion that is generated and the quality of voices that get amplified on social media. So it thinks because they're speaking loudly, they're making more sense. Actually, they're not making more sense. They're making less sense, which is why they're speaking so loudly.
And at times, they also get into all sorts of slut shaming, harassment in terms of sex, caste, racism and what not. I
See,
think.
but identity politics is not only practiced now. Identity politics is being promoted now. See,
What is identity politics for layman's understanding?
I'll tell you. Identity politics is this. Now you ask me to, you ask me to do an interview with you. So I'll see you mainly as a communicator, a media person. Okay, that is the most critically correct identity that I should recognize you by. But if I recognize you by gender, I'm actually come to your show because I want to encourage women, in media. So if I say, I've come to this show because you're of a certain caste, or because you belong to a certain group, or because of your skin color. This is you find identities that people can't help themselves with. See, media is what you have chosen to do. But your skin color, your height, your weight, your gender, your your language, the religion you're born with, unless you consciously make a decision to defy your family, the circle, the community that makes you, that you have to leave them, abandon them, get deracinated and change and become another religion. Otherwise, it is something that is given to you because of the bed you were born in. That is what it is. So the identity politics is actually capturing what people cannot help themselves with, and either shaming them for it or valorizing them for it, right? So if you're called a Brahmin, can you help yourself? What can you do to it if you're shamed for being a Brahmin? So when say Anurag Kashyap says, I'm going to piss on a Brahmin, okay, now at least you must say it's indecent. So you're expecting Brahmins to say it's indecent, and a lot of them will say it, and then you get because you play identity politics, because a lot of Brahmins say it is indecent, then a host of people will come and say, it's a good thing, you're a hero, Anurag Kashyap. That's what happens, correct? So everybody plays identity politics in such a way that you have the prime ministerial candidate telling that jitni abadi utna hak. That means, according to the population of your identity, we'll give you rights. What if BJP claims that, if the Sangha Parivar claims that and say your identity is a Hindu, so you must have the 80% rights. Is that okay then? See, I'm saying because, what is absurd and stupid will be absurd and stupid applied to this extent or applied to a large extent. It will be the stupid from beginning to the end. But if you belong to that small sample of people and identify yourself with that group, it will sound right to you. But it's nonsense always. Okay? The Constitution does not allow all these things. But the person who carries the Constitution of India, in his hand, and he's saying this, does not understand the Constitution of India. Correct?
Right.
So I'm saying, but if you say that, I'm criticizing him because he belongs to the Congress party, I would criticize him if some idiot from Sangha Parivar said it, or somebody from JDS said it, somebody from the Communist Party, because it is stupid. That's why I criticize it. It's a stupid idea. Democracy is already an evil in that sense, because it's a necessary evil. What happens in democracy is, just before you started the program, see what happens with the democracy. With the democracy, because we have the first past the post system, that means, let us say, 5 people contest an election in a constituency of 100 people. Okay? A person, and maybe 60 people have voted. Okay?
Right.
40 people have not voted, which means they have not given an opinion. Correct. Which means they don't care who wins. So you have only 60 left. Okay? In the 60, the votes get divided in this way. One person gets 5 votes. One person gets 10 votes.
Right.
One person gets 12 votes. One person gets 15 votes. Okay? And the 5th person gets the remaining, which may be 24 votes, let us say.
That guy will be
the person who got the highest votes will win. He's not got 100.
He's not the majority.
He's not got a majority in 100. He's not got a majority even in 60.
True that. Yes.
Correct? So we have 65% voting, okay, in India, let us say. And then the Modi group forms the government with 40% of that 60% vote. Okay? That means 25% of the people of India voted the government to power.
Right.
So
right.
the 75% will be from some people, from people who don't care to people who really dislike you. That's what it is. So nobody really has mandate. It's already this jitni abadi utna hak already has happened in one way. You want to subdivide and make this evil much bigger than it needs to be. Democracy in the way we have it is a necessary evil. See, in France, if you have an election like this, if 5 people contest, the first 2 must go to election again. It's called a runoff. And one of them wins. It has to be 50% then it becomes of the people who voted. People who didn't vote, they don't matter. People who voted, it has to be at least 50%. That is the idea there, I'm not saying, you change it or something. It's anyway too complicated, I'm not saying. But let's not have any illusions that somebody in power has got everybody is okay to be there. And the difference is actually, will be really marginal, okay? The swing vote is only 3 or 4%. There are only 3 or 4% of people who think, who are dynamic, who are not pre-committed. I will vote for you no matter what you do because you are my caste or you are my religion or you are from my balaga or something,
Locality.
Those people you don't care, they're like that. But there are the people who think and vote. That may be like in India, maybe 5% or 6%. It's these 5% or 6% who are really powerful voters. They are the ones who make or break government. The others you can take for granted. The bunch of idiots.
Wow. How did you become the man that you are today? I mean, every time I meet you, it's a surprise, It's like a Pandora's box. I don't know what's going to open. Like, these many sheets, this man has not touched anything that is in here, as in,
No, we'll go by that. Because politics is like this, It's
no,
not a good
it's a
topic.
compliment, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
You're like Pandora's box. Like, how did you fill all of this inside?
No, Pandora's box is quite a negative term. Do you know what it actually means? It actually opens up a lot of stuff that should have been kept on. Yeah.
But in a way, from somebody's perspective, probably what you're saying could be a Pandora's box. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I never watch any show that I do because I'll get tempted to see comments that are there, and the fool that I am, I can get hurt, so I don't watch.
somebody who's so well read, still having a mind of your own, why do you call yourself a fool?
No, because to be vulnerable is like really foolish.
Now I think I'm going to attack the foundation now. I mean, all actors are vulnerable, but
Even if I was not an actor, I'm vulnerable.
what's the importance of staying vulnerable? I mean, so honestly, you're saying, yes, I'm vulnerable, and it's very important to be vulnerable to be a human being, right?
That is the problem. Because I want to be vulnerable, I'll read. And in the past, I would reply to every one of them and all that love I won't do. But because I don't want to do that, I'd never see. In the last 30 films I've done, I watched one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, one film I watched.
Crazy. So what? It's like, I mean, why do you do that?
Because I feel awkward to watch myself.
Now, why do you feel awkward?
Because I feel I've got an awkward body. That I have this.
Should I do that
Honey.
5 eyes? Now, why do you think you have an awkward body? I think it has to now.
And I have a peculiar voice, I think so.
So this is the man. Like, you think you're an onion? Like, I mean, all humans are onions, right? Like, we have our own layers. Some layers are seen to the world.
But
some are not.
that is always interpreted in many ways. But I will say, whatever you do, I'll still be onion. That's what any layer you open, I'll still be onion. So yeah, I'll not be something else. If you reopen a layer, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So now, looking at your own life, I would want to dig some of it from the Bollywood lens and your pan-India movies lens. Of course, people in Karnataka respect you for the theatre work and for the activists in
Some
you.
people in Karnataka respect me. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you, it's true. Yeah.
Okay. Probably for people pan-India, right? For some you could be the person in Madras Cafe. For some it could be Pathan. For some it could be Saho. How have you understood your own audience as to how they are looking at you from the actor's lens? People in Karnataka versus rest of the world, sir.
There was this driver who drove me to the airport once, and he had just come from Andhra Pradesh, from Chittoor or someplace. He had come. He had just come to Bangalore. He had come here because he was in love with some girl, and because she's of a different caste,
Okay.
the parents had sent her to Bangalore. So he's come to Bangalore to find her. He's in touch with her, and he wants to prove to them that he can earn money and stand on his own feet. So so that's some romance story he's got. He recognized me, but he could not place me correctly. Then, after he heard my voice, actually my voice is peculiar. People recognize me as soon as I talk, many times. Okay. He said, he described the roles I do. He said, I've watched you in many movies because they'll come in dubbed in Telugu. And he said, you're always there where there is power, he said. He said, I remember you always in roles or in situations where power is operating. You're always there, he said. And I think that is how the industry, cinema industry, sees me. If they cast me in a character role, typically they'll cast me in such roles. Cop, head of organization, lawyer, very successful or big lawyer, or CBI director kind of thing they'll do.
Why did this happen? As in, how did the perception of you being that?
I feel people have micro gestures, that we can't easily understand what they are, but by instinct, many actors, many people pick them up. And you can see in the first 3 seconds, like that author says here, who wrote Blink. In the first 3 seconds, you assess a person. Although you over time you rationalize with experience, what you've already felt in the first 3 seconds. But people instinctively judge, I think, other people, and it's because of these gestures, that they have, that you can't really label, because they're really two tiny things, but together they make some sense when you see people, and you feel like this person fits that role.
Since you are also a director, do you also do the same? Do you look at people and
I just completely submit myself to that. I don't find out actors' background, what experience they have. I don't do all that. If they come for an audition, I'll just ask them to read, and I'll just watch them when they read. That is how I cast.
So looking at the lens of Bollywood and all the other Tollywoods, the films, how do you land a film? Like, they cast you, or...
In my case, what happened was Arjun Chakradhar, who managed me in Bombay for the longest time, for more than 12 years. Arjun was the 4th assistant to Shujit Sarkar. And I knew Arjun's Chakradhar because his family watched a serial I used to do in 2001 called Garva. And they were fans of that serial, and he was still in high school or early college, school. And he watched that series, and then he went to Manipal to study mass comm. He told me that he went there because he watched Garva. He wanted to become a filmmaker, director. And he kept in touch with me through Facebook. And he came to finish his graduation, came to Bangalore, and he was working for a TV channel here. And then he told me that, I was his, he found me, that I inspired him, and, he wanted my advice on what to do. I told him, what do you want to be? He said, I want to be a director. I said, go to Chennai or to Hyderabad or to Mumbai, wherever you can go and work for 5 years without a salary. Because there's a Gurukula thing. This is not something you can learn in college, I said.
Yeah?
I said, you go there because we still don't have a school of that quality, a school system of that quality for cinema.
Even till date?
Even till date. We have,
institutions.
They take 10 people, FTII. Maybe they take 10 or 12 people in Satyajit Institute for each course, for filmmaking or for cinematography and so on. And there's many private institutions, but
Yeah,
for a
sure,
population
sure.
of this size,
Mm.
we have very few. We should have had more filmmaking, movie image making schools in India than we have, say, engineering colleges or arts colleges, for instance. There's so many of them. Waste. You'll never get a job being an arts graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to learn something else to get a job. So
Yes.
there should have been, and I told him to go, and he went, and he used to ask me to act in TV commercials, ads. I said I won't do. Then one day he said, "Look, I'm sending you 2 scenes and a character sketch
Mm.
for Madras Cafe." And I thought, very good writing. I said, "Who wrote it?" He said, "We have a writer in this company called Juhi Chaturvedi. And Shujit Sarkar himself is very good." And all that he said. I had not watched anything Shujit Sarkar had done.
Mm.
Then, I did an audition. He said, "We will not call you. You can do the audition yourself and send."
Mm.
I did with my own group. Balaji Manohar, everybody was there. Ajit Hande, Divya, Balaji's wife. Everybody was there. We shot at Suchitra. I brought my own costumes and we shot it. And I sent that. And there were 52 people who had auditioned for it. Mine was the second one that Shujit Sarkar watched.
Oh.
And they told me later that he saw me and he said, "Who is this guy?" And somebody pointed to Arjun and said that he had found me. Said, "If you can get somebody who is better than this, you call me. Otherwise, we'll call this guy." That's how I came into film. And after that, people have called me continuously for one way or the other. They found my number and called me. Then 2-3 years later, I appointed Arjun as my manager in Bombay. And then they would call Arjun and say, take the number, or they would get it from in the network. My number is now available. They'll know. They'll call me. The first a casting director will call me, or a casting director company. Somebody will call and say there is such a role.
Oh.
They'll describe the role and the director and the company that will make the film, and they'll say, "Would you like to act in such a film?"
Okay.
Then I'll say yes. But if I hear the story or they send me the script, sometimes they'll send the script, but almost every time the director or the associate director will call me. Usually the director will call if it's a Bombay film, the Bollywood film, and they'll describe the entire story to me. Or sometimes they'll come here to Bangalore, sit with me and tell me the entire story. If it's a web series and then I agree, and then Arjun talks to them rates and dates and all that. And that is how it is done. Even now we maintain it, except Arjun is not the one who does it now. My own son-in-law, Nikhil Nanaya, does it, I don't have an agent. I don't have any agency. I just respond to calls that come to me. I don't look for roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's quite a good mix. Like there is Airlift with Akshay Kumar, there is Pathan with Shah Rukh, there is Baby John, there is Sanju, there is Sahu, there's a good mix. It's a good mix. So what do you look when you say yes? Like, is it the director, is it the star, or is it what it does to you in terms of money or the kind of roles or the impact that your character has on audience? What do you look, sir?
Money is important, of course, but mainly I look for, ideally, I look for, it's very difficult to get that, but ideally look for a role which has a trajectory. What I mean by that is, the character should affect the story, and the happenings of the story should keep affecting the character. So the character keeps, the character's mental framework, keeps changing. So, his anxieties should go, his or her anxiety should go up or down. And you get affected by the story, and you have to change your perspective. What you had held as dear, you have to give up. Like all that, if you have that trajectory, where you're getting affected by the story, then that is a more interesting role. So, but if you get a stereotype, for instance, a cop, who comes and investigates, he was always investigating. From the beginning till the end, he'll just be an investigator. But if the cop affects the story, like in Madras Cafe, the raw agent affects the happenings of the story. and he gets affected by the happenings of the story, till eventually he blows his brains out, So because that trajectory, that person in control who completely loses control, where he affects the story and the story and gets affected by the story. Those are the best roles. Okay? And you get them very, very rarely. I'm a little bit lucky because I get stories that are based on real life. Either a real life character or a real life incident or something that's happened in near or older history. Typically, those are the roles I get. Typically. All the films you mentioned, okay, are that. See, it's just a coincidence. Every film except Pathan that you mentioned is based on real life. There are real incidents that have happened. Airlift was a real incident. Madras Cafe was based on a real incident. Kashmir Files was based on a real incident. Accidental Prime Minister is based on real person. So it's like everything is based on real things. I get those characters. So it has more gravitas, the role itself. So even if it's a small role, it has some dignity. But it doesn't really work out all the time. Sadly, most times it doesn't work out the way you planned.
For instance?
The film doesn't come out as well as you thought it should come out when you read the script. And sometimes it does, and that's the reward.
Surprises that came your way in terms of when things fell in place, which are those movies? And
the great surprise actually is not after the first movie, Madras Cafe. Then after that, it has not been much of a surprise, Everyone said you're lucky when I did Madras Cafe, But now I may have done 90 films now and maybe 10 web series. I think it'll be ridiculous to say I'm lucky now, I've done it now in 5 or 6 languages. But the thing that came my way, which was real luck and completely surprising, was the 2 writer-directors from Australia came. Because they had heard about me from Atul, who has that great theatre company in Bombay. In Lonavala, they have this, He recommended them and they came and they asked me to audition for a role in an Australian play. And I did that. I got the role and I've done maybe, I told 25 shows in Sydney, 14 shows in Adelaide, then again 28 shows in Sydney, 28 shows in Melbourne, 20 shows in New York, 9 shows in Edinburgh, 11 shows in Birmingham. Of this one play I've done, I won the Helpman Award as Best Actor Australia for that play.
Oh, wow.
Then I've acted in another play after that, which was a sequel to this play. So it made me like no influence, nothing. It happened to people, came from people I just don't know at all. And that has been a big reward in my life and a big surprise.
But the journey like this, while the world wants to believe that opportunities don't happen, you create them. I was just going through a story of one Mr. Pankaj Tripathi himself. He's the son of a farmer, used to cook food in a hotel in Patna, came to Delhi to study, worked in small roles in TV for Gulal Powder before Gangs of Wasepur. Now once you have a breakthrough, then you are sorted, right? So but still they say roots matter more than the wings sometimes. So what is the story of people who are in important roles but still are not the main characters in Bollywood? Is it easy for you all? Is there a side?
Pankaj Tripathi and Manoj Vajpayee among male actors, are great prime examples of people who have done really well because of OTT. Pankaj Tripathi I've acted with him in Tashkent Files. He was just like emerging that time, and he was. See, these are all National School of Drama actors. Okay.
What's so different in them?
National School of Drama has produced some really fine, terrific actors in India. So did FTI in the past. It can produce some great actors.
How to be a terrific actor, sir? How to be a terrific actor?
I think you should know when you're acting on the stage. That there is no difference between action and reaction. You're being observed all the time. So you invest a lot of time into the scene, the mise-en-scene, which means you rehearse for a very long time, okay? And after that, the play is in your control. The director is not there. But in a film, a director is always there, And to understand what the idea of trajectory, if you're doing 64th scene, how you should be, and rather than 32nd scene, how you should be, it's a different thing. And there are some actors who know this. And it may be prejudice, but it is backed by fact as well. A lot of the very good actors are actually theatre people. Okay? Very good actor, typically from theatre they will be. Because in theatre you have to be there, being the character all the time. There's no cut and you relax, And there's no lensing, close up and you're not seen. You're always seen. When you're standing on stage, you're always in character. Like that it is. It teaches a discipline that you can get only from the stage. So some of these actors know this, how to be on screen. Because if the lens is so close to you, maybe just doing this is great acting, which won't be noticed at all in theatre, okay? But just like if you know that there is music, and that you can imagine that somebody punches a short piano thing, and then you open your eyes, it gives a different reaction. They have that thing, There's something strange about them that they never act. They just behave. That is great acting in my opinion.
I won't be able to look at a piano or silence the same way again. I mean, you all calculate so much.
Everything. You just find out, if it's sync sound, then you realize that, they're going to use the sound that you're giving now. Okay. But if they're going to dub, then you realize that, maybe you should not be speaking loudly at all. There's no need. So, see, it's actually greater at this distance to be talking with only so much facial expression. But what happens is, at shooting there is so much noise, and if it's going to be dubbed, you'll be talking like this loudly, with some effort, and that is not good. That's why it looks like overacting because of the noise. But if it's being dubbed, then you talk only like this. Now, for instance, because my basic training is in theatre, when I'm acting in a film, many times I talk loudly. It works very well for cinema in Hindi because Bollywood does sync sound. They isolate the sound so it's as quiet as this, while shooting, or quieter than this. You can't hear that AC hum also, okay?
Everything is sync.
Everything sync, okay, they do. So in there it works. But if I'm acting in a South film, talking in this distance is so noisy sometimes that you're speaking loudly unnecessarily. But I've seen people who are used to it, who are used to this dubbing thing. They'll say, they've not said anything even.
What?
They just mouth the dialogue. Now, supposing they need to say, Apadiya, Seri Nalkore. They have to say, they'll do. They'll do. And they'll dub it really well with deep voice and all they'll do later.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How do you face them? Because you have
I don't. I'll talk loudly. I'll look silly there. I'll be laughing because I'll be so stupid.
So facing which
But
actor?
they treat me very well. See, outside Karnataka also some people treat me with respect,
Why do you say that? We all love you.
No, but generally the professional film industry is quite crude, in their behavior, in Karnataka. Not everybody, many of them are very crude, okay? But outside, at least they treat me very well, okay? Yeah, they pamper me a lot.
If I may ask, what is treating an actor well in that standards?
See, I'll tell you, I acted in a movie under a big banner, okay?
Which movie is that, sir?
I won't tell the name because I'm scared of them, that's why, okay? Because that's how Kannada industry is, okay?
Oh, okay.
I'm scared not in some they'll give me a role or not. If they give me a role, They'll know when I tell you the story they'll know what I'm saying, okay? If they give me a role, I'll never work under that banner also. Even if they gave me 10 lakhs per day, I'll not do it, okay? See, I'll tell you, I was acting in a film, and because I would not bring down my rate, but they wanted me because the director wanted me. What they did was, they did not pay me the last chunk of money they had to give me. They did not give. They were supposed to give in 4 installments, then give the last one. And the last day of shoot, they sent people to my caravan, to my vanity van, okay, who went inside the toilet, 4 of them came, ate, threw meat or everywhere in it, went inside, and, they emptied the water in the caravan and shat in that thing. So I could not use inside. It was very hot. I had to sit outside because it was so stinky.
What are you saying, sir?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's an extreme. Not everybody is like that. But a lot of them are they don't know how to behave. See, for instance, there is no contract in a Kannada film. You don't sign a contract.
Then?
The only industry.
Yeah.
Everybody else signs contract. We are really backward. Like kind of uncivilized industry it is.
I mean, what's the way forward? Like, how can things get better? Is it the corporate houses?
because if you're a civilized person, your word you give should be enough. You don't need paper. There was a Kannada that was like that in cinema. By and large, Kannada is a very civilized culture, okay? But in cinema particularly, I'm talking. Because most of the producers they're not genuinely Kannadigas, many of them. They're actually from other cultures, So what happens is, if what I said to you, my word is enough, you have to be of a slightly evolved, dignified, ethical culture, Otherwise, if you want to be the way you are, you should have contract. And we'll stick to contract, at least you should be. Here, there is no guarantee of it. Some people are very good. That thing works. So if you work with the Rajkumar family people, like say whether it was Apu, or I've done 2 films with him, and I've done 2 films with, Shivraj Kumar also. Very civilized, very decent. The entire culture and behavior on set will be different, because they come from a certain kind of tradition on how to be. And there are many of them who are very friendly, like for instance, if I worked a couple of times or more than a couple of times with, Yogesh Dwarkish, a very friendly setup it will be, very jovial, and very respectful. I'm not saying everybody is bad, but a lot of them can be very uncivilized.
I'm shocked. Because last time I met you for our Kannada podcast, there was not a whisk of what you would have gone through coming out in the conversation.
I'm not bitter about it because I know how to avoid it. Actually, I just say no to many films.
But I'm sure all of this becomes very minuscule for you after a point, considering what you want.
It is not minuscule when you suffer the insult.
Absolutely.
So you should just avoid it. You should spot them from a distance. So if let us say the director calls me of a film and says, I want you to act in a film. That is one thing. But if I get a production manager to call me, actually I won't listen to the role, anything. I'll cut it short there and say I won't do it. I won't listen at all. Because it's disrespectful,
Starting off. Like
who the hell is the production? Who does he think, my time is, So earlier I would get angry and say, who are you? Why are you calling me? I would say. Now I don't do. I'll just say, I'm not free, and I'll put the phone on.
Saving your energy.
So you'll never get that from Bollywood.
How's
from
it,
Telugu or from...
How's it there? I mean, have you had personal interactions with Shah Rukh?
I never met him, ever.
Akshay Kumar?
Of course, twice. I've done 2 films with him.
Yes. this is coming from a girl from Bangalore or a woman from Bangalore, not seen them, representing all our curiosities. How is their real side like?
See, Akshay Kumar is extremely friendly, very human, okay? I mean, they get angry with him for the money he demands, and and sometimes how casual he is with acting. But as a person, I can tell you he's a great guy. As
What
a
is
person, great guy is really friendly. It's from him that I've learned when people struggle to take. When people mob him, he never gets angry because he's tall. He takes the phone and he places them and he takes the pictures for them. He's like an extremely friendly guy. Impossible to act with many times because
Right?
when the camera is on behind him and he's
Suggestion.
giving lines, he'll be doing jokes to you when you're acting.
You have to avoid all of that, control,
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah. He'll say, and he's subversive. If it's a serious role, in the middle he'll ask me to tell a line that is funny. I'll be scared because I'll think, it's not correct for the film to do. And then, sometimes the mic will be on. And and if the director hears, once Sudha Kungara said, don't corrupt him, don't teach him. He's like that, He's very friendly. John Abraham, I've done 2 films with him. Very, very supportive, very encouraging. Even when he's a producer, he will say, it's, having people like you that'll make my film better, he'll say.
Yeah.
Like that, very, very.
They know how to
very
treat.
Farooq Sheikh, like an angel. Terrific guy. Like that. Mr. Bachchan himself, extremely civilized.
What was your first interaction? What was your curiosity meeting him, being a senior personality yourself in the industry for such a long
Not
time?
compared to him. I met him when I was a journalist in Indian Express, when the Beaufort scandal was on, and his brother also was named in something. He was staying at Hotel Ashok. I don't know what film he had come to shoot, and we went to Nupur Basu and I.
Mm-hmm.
She was my senior, and both of us went to meet him. And because I was a crime reporter, I was also in the Indian Express inside team to do investigative journalism. I went with a set of questions, and he came out of his room, on the 8th floor or something. He just came out of his room. I looked up, I saw his face. I couldn't speak a word after that, I just stared at him, my childhood hero, So I saw him when I was 15 first. So from that time. That was my first reaction, when I met him.
At 15.
But when this time,
Awestruck.
this time when I met him for a film for Wazir, I told him that I had met him before. He told me, sir, आपने क्या किया है आपने? I said, no sir, I failed in many things, that I know many things, I said. We worked, and I have an incident about him, and you'll realize why he is what he is.
Mm-hmm.
In that movie, I accepted that only because I could act with him. I had 2 scenes with him, and I had 2 scenes with him. Okay, and Farhan Akhtar was there in the film also. So in that first scene where I meet him, my Hindi was atrocious. I told him, sir, my Hindi is bad. He says, no, you're doing quite well, but you should transpose and say that it'll be better.
Transpose as in what words?
Like, sometimes I will put the adjective after the noun. So some things like that can go wrong. I'll put nahi, in the wrong place. I should have put it later. It'll still be, you'll understand what I've said, but it's awkward. Kind of thing can happen, There's a syntax to the way you're... So he corrected that kind of thing. And anyway, towards the end of the shoot, because he had come in saying he'll leave by 8:30, and we shot right through the afternoon, and the camera went to the other side where I had 3 lines to speak to him. I had sat right through on the opposite side and given lines to him. So when his came, in commercial cinema in Kannada, I've seen that actors don't sit. Now I don't do much commercial,
Mm-hmm.
purely commercial cinema. I don't agree at all. But what the actors will do is they'll give this black shell to somebody, and somebody has to sit and they'll shoot.
It's
Okay.
called a suggestion shot, right?
Huh?
The suggestion shot.
For the suggestion, OSS, over the shoulder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, suggestion is also correct. They'll do that. I've seen one actor who had to do that, and he got angry and he said, "For such shots, why do you need me?" And all that he said angrily. Okay, to the director. Anyway, so I thought he'll go, but he sat, and it was already past 9. Although he said he had to leave at 8:30. First, I muffed my lines. I didn't say it correctly. Second one, I concentrated on saying the line correctly because I was tense. I said the line correctly, but I had not acted well. But the director said, okay. Now I was scared. I thought they will say. So I told him, sir, I want to ask you something. We had talked some. By then he had signed for my wife and all that. It's there at home, the autograph. And, I said, I want to ask you something. And, when he's in that character, he'll talk like the character.
Oh, yeah?
Boliye, sir. Like that he said. So I said, I know he said, okay, but I know you have to leave. It's already late. But I want to do one more time, if you don't mind. Then he said, sir, you should not talk to me like that. You sat there and gave me lines. If you do 20 takes, it's your right. I'll sit and give you lines. Don't worry about my time, he said. I don't think there is anybody like him.
Wow. So what happens after the camaraderie that you all share in the set? Do you all carry that to your personal lives as well? Like, are you in touch?
With him, I've not been in touch, but I've met him 3 times after that. Once I acted in another film called Teen with him. All night we had to shoot together. I asked him about his theatre life in Kolkata and all that, Long chat we had. He told me that, he really liked my work in Madras Cafe. In fact, he used very complimentary words for it. And he invited me to go and watch the film, the first screening of the film we were in. In Delhi, you come, we'll sit together and watch, he told me. But that didn't happen because he had a rib fracture because of the stunt scene in Teen where I fall on him.
Oh.
He showed me how to fall and all that. And I did that, He had a thing. He never mentioned it, So when I heard and I called him on the phone, I said, I met him again because Rockline Venkatesh took Yogaraj Bhatt, me, person called Hemant, to meet him because we wanted to do a film with him.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
And then they wanted to do, and I
in
was...
Kannada?
In Hindi.
Oh.
Okay. He wanted to do a film because he had somebody working with him, a Kannadiga who was working with him for a long time. He wanted to give him money, earnings from the film he wanted to give to that guy. So he said he'll do.
Mr. Bachchan?
So we went and, it didn't work out for various reasons, but we went to his house twice that time. We spent a long time with him, discussing the script, how to do it and all that. And we talked a lot more then also. I don't think I've kept in touch with any of the Bombay actors. I work with many actors, I don't think I've I've called or kept in touch. I promise that I'll keep in touch with, with Irfan.
Irfan Khan?
When we were doing Talwar, because, I asked him whether he can play Monto's role or a script that I was writing for Monto, along with Akar Patel, the columnist. And that didn't happen. And, he and I have the same guru, Prasanna. Our Prasanna is his guru also. For many NSD actors, Prasanna is their guru. Even Pankaj Tripathi. Actually, I asked Pankaj Tripathi, see, he was in Tashkent Files, he was not so big. But later, when he became very big, I was cast in Newton to the play to do the role he was playing. That's the only role I've got and lost. Many roles I've got and refused, but that's the only role I got and lost. It was Newton. I loved that role so much, but in the last moment they had given me an advance, done my look test, everything, and in the last moment the director said he wanted a Hindi character for it. He wanted a North Indian character for it, and I felt so upset, because of that. But they gave it, in my opinion, to the better actor. So it's okay.
How have you handled rejections?
In cinema, no, not with that much. I'm not bothered that much. I don't care.
In life?
I've done auditions very rare. I don't do auditions. If they say there's an audition, I don't bother. I won't go. I don't care what role it is. I don't go. I've done 2 auditions before. Will never do again.
Madras Cafe was one.
Madras Cafe I did and got.
Yes.
In between, I've done 2 auditions. No, I've done an audition before Madras Cafe. I've done an audition later after Madras Cafe. I've never done an audition after that. I'll never do.
Any reason for that?
I don't want to be tried. If there's a body of work, you like it, you take me, don't take me. I'm cool not to act ever again. I'm very okay with it.
So we were talking about, vision for life. What did you vision your life to be? Envision?
Up to a point, I'm not sure whether I had any great vision, because I had my father asked me to learn typing because I can get a job. That was his impression about me. When my mother asked me, we couldn't go enter my father's room. When my mother took an application form for me to write my 10th standard exam, I could hear the conversation. I had to stand outside when my mother went for his signature, and I could hear my father saying, "Avanu SSLC otta idana iga." And my mother said yes, and he said, in Kannada, of course, you should tell him that we will only attempt it once, and if he doesn't pass, he'll have to leave studies and find a job. My mother told him that I was like a topper in not close to top. Let's say I never got first rank, but I would get third, fifth, sixth, like that rank I would get in class. She told him that class ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆ rank ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಾ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ? This is how he was talking. So let us say he had very low expectations, from me, But to give him the benefit of doubt, I don't think he believed in education as well. So I don't know whether it was low expectations, whether he, in his head he imagined a different path for me. That was like, I'll like him. I'll not care about studies. I'll go to work. I'll grow working. It's like that's how we thought maybe. I don't think any of my friends thought I'll do well. And the only person I can remember kind of who consistently had a very high opinion about me was my mother's elder brother, Chintamani. My uncle Chintamani always thought very highly of me. And he thought I'll do very well, that I'll become a scientist, or a great financial expert or something like that he could imagine. But almost nobody else did, I think. So, and I didn't have any high expectations about myself as well. But I was, off and on, for a very long time, the captain of the cricket team in my locality. The captain of the hockey team in my locality. Although I was not a good player myself, I was the captain.
You knew how to manage people from the beginning.
Maybe, yeah. I always had, I did many of the things. Whatever initiatives they took, I would be heading it. Like that it was. Even if I was younger to many of them. Okay?
Oh.
So, I think I didn't have that. I thought I will join the merchant navy and run away abroad. I dreamt of that because I had read this Treasure Island, the stowaway, who sits and goes, I used to dream of that. And I joined the Navy section of NCC when I was in National High School. But, I was a weak kid, and although I was in NCC, I never became, petty officer or anything, and so on. So I didn't think I had ambition for a very long time till I came to second PU. Then I was with a bunch of really smart people in National College, like who could be toppers of the state, like that kind of people I knew. So I got influenced by them, and I studied somewhat, and I got a merit seat in engineering. Then I thought I'll become a great inventor, make some great,
Contributions to the world, no?
engineering, that will help India, kind of thing. I thought. None of that happened, and without my knowledge, theatre got hold of me, and I was acting sometimes in college plays, but I was mostly directing. I was doing lighting. I began to do lighting for very major plays, even when I was in college. And what has been consistent in my life so far has been, theatre. But honestly, the ambition that took root at some point of time, maybe when I was doing theatre, because I used to read quite a lot then. I would take a tiffin carrier and go to City Central Library during summer holidays and sit there till they sent me out. I would read books,
Clearly.
Yeah. So
Can see
my
that.
great ambition, which I've never done justice to, was to become a writer. And at least now, I think I should make an effort.
You have a blueprint already.
Yeah.
So, enjoyed your life? I mean, what part of your life so far is your favorite? Can we ask such questions? I don't know.
I never thought, I will get into this middle class thing of loving family and all that. I had a clear idea. I remember I told my wife that I'll never be a good husband. Ours was a love marriage, but I told her that I will never be a good husband.
Why?
But I'll always be a good lover, I told her, once, And that was my idea of marriage. But now, my idea of family has changed completely. I sincerely believe that if you break down if the family system breaks down in India, it'll be the end of India. India will break up. Because you cannot outsource, care of the elderly, care of, children, care of the, differently abled to state institutions. Because, India is a poor country, and because of our population, our per capita income will always be low. We'll never be great. We'll never be great in that regard. But as a humane, caring society, we can continue to be great if we preserve the values of community living. And family is the smallest unit of community. So in a village, instead of protecting privacy, you'll have to think of being a better person, right? So I think the village is a good model, and the village model works if family is a good model. And the village model should not be the Gandhian model of village. The Gandhian model of village is, they will stay the way they are, all the caste system, everything intact, So the carpenter and the farmer are mutually dependent. Achari irbeku, raitanu irbeku. Achari food sigate, raitanga mane katkodtane achari. Kind of thing, this interdependency model that Gandhi had. I think it may not, Pandit Nehru disagreed with Gandhi, even then Vishweshwaraya disagreed with Gandhi. Now it's non-applicable. I agree with the Ambedkar idea that, that Dalits can be freed of caste only if they come to the cities and shed their identity here. Otherwise, even if you're the village barber's son, even if you get a Harvard PhD, they'll still call you the village barber's son. That's how the caste system is in India. So I agree with
They celebrate it.
Huh?
And they celebrate it, right?
I don't know whether they celebrate it,
no man's,
but they will still refer to him by caste, and they may not be happy with that. So I don't mean that idea of the village. I mean the idea of the village where the village functions in such a way that if there is a disabled person, the village will not think of committing that person to some institution. In a family, if there's a disabled person, the village looks after that person. Poor families in the past, even in cities, we have been like that. We don't send away somebody who's disabled, to an institution, right? If some child is a duffer child, in the past, village children who failed exams didn't commit suicide, because you didn't make that a big deal. What I'm saying is that there is a Marxist model of, that Karl Marx said, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, which is how ಈಗ ಕೈತು ತಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಅಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೆಲವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಹಂಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕೋ ಅಷ್ಟು, ಯಾರು ತಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತೋ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಅದು I feel that is a model. It was discriminatory largely, but it was full of empathy. It had compassion at its root, and that kind of interdependency I'm saying that the village taught. So even in the cities, it's not for the government to be lifting garbage, 3,000-4,000 tons of garbage every day from the city. We should not litter the city. You should treat the city as your home. And just like you don't litter your home, if you're a good family, you should not litter, your city. That's what the city should be, a community. That's how I mean. The model should come from our villages and from old way of living. This has become my idea of life now. This idea that we should all look after each other, not by categories. Individually, we should look after each other. We should not make categories of minorities. Dalits, dark-skinned people. Nonsense it is, Whoever needs it should get it. Individually is how you should see, I think. Not at this point of time, nobody agrees with me, I think. But that is what I think should be the model of caring. This idea of positive discrimination, which is what reservation is, should be this, that you see the person, and you decide. There is this idea of, when Infosys was hiring, there's the lady in charge, Hema Ravichandran. I believe if she looked at the background of a kid, he had to go, let's say he was an employee, but he had to go to Bidar, for holidays, and its parents were there. There'd be that much extra incremental thing in the salary, so that thing could be fulfilled. I think that kind of giving attention should be the core of caring. That it addresses an individual. It does not first make category and then address. Yeah.
You're an ocean. And I think we've just kind of got a couple of drops today on the show. And thank you so much for your time, sir, because we are in crunch of time here.
No, thank you, Rashmi. And, I'm glad you're doing something in English, because you deserve to go national. I think you will be known. And, there is no shame in going national. You don't lose any identity by speaking in English. It's just a language of communication. It's the ideas that you get to discuss that's important.
Absolutely. And the kind of humans that we get to introduce to the bigger world, the canvas.
And you have the skill, and you should do it. And I hope you succeed a lot. And I hope we'll have a chance to meet again. And I hope if there are big issues that are current that you would like to discuss, I would like to be there. I'll gladly come and talk.
Definitely looking forward to host you again.
Thank
Lastly,
you.
Kindly nominate 3 guests that you would like to see on this seat.
I think you should get, Mohandas Pai to come and talk,
Amazing. Yes.
And you should get him to talk, in English about why he thinks Karnataka can become a $1 trillion economy.
All right.
I think he's a very interesting person, and I think we should talk to him.
You met him, I'm sure.
I know him. He's a close friend. I mean, I really admire him. I think you should get him to talk.
Cool.
And I think you should talk to my guru Prasanna. Because you should get him to talk in English. And he can talk in a little bit in Hindi also if he wants, but he should talk in English. And you should ask him why, from being India's greatest, you should start with that question. Why, from being India's greatest theatre director, he's ventured out to do so many other things. Why has he done that? You should ask him.
Why has he branched out?
He'll be a genuine ocean of ideas and knowledge. That's the second person I'll do. And I think the third person you should talk to should be, somebody. I know many women who've done really well in business, and I think it's worth talking to them. I think you should talk to Rohini Nilekani in Kannada. But she can talk in Kannada as well. But you should see if she will talk in Kannada and English on the show. Because, I think Rohini is a person who has done things very quietly. She's done a lot in the field of education. She has ideas of how India can be a better place, and she will do it from a perspective of what she calls Sarkar, Samaj and Bazaar. That means government, society and business. All three you need, and she triangulates them and she talks. It may be very interesting to get her to talk on your show.
Amazing suggestion. While I sign this for you, any book that you would like to suggest for our audience to start exploring? A must read.
I think, there is an old book and it's a small volume. They should read this book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Yeah.
The Nazi
survivor.
survivor.
Yeah. Holocaust survivor, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Rashmi.
Yes, sir. Dear Prakash, sir, amazing to host you, and until next time, keep shining. I don't know what to write in a hurry. I'm like all tense right now.
Okay.
This is a book by Robin Sharma, The Wealth Money Can't Buy. For all the wealth that you've already accumulated through these many years, this is for you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This episode was powered by Polar Bear, the Ice Cream Sundae Zone. All you mango fans, now that the Mango Mania seasonal special is on, wondering which outlet to go? They have 160 outlets to choose from. Turn the maps on and search for your nearest Polar Bear outlet. What a conversation, isn't it? I kind of wonder at times what we know is probably what we've been shown or probably what we've just tried to look at. There is still a notion which is unknown, right? Also, after having such a wonderful, deep conversation about so many things which has been part of his life's journey, all that I can say is don't put yourself in a box because you're worth to be explored in different angles. So, at times if you're feeling stuck, what can you do? You can look for new opportunities. If opportunity isn't coming to you, you can always create one. That's my wallpaper. Don't wait for an opportunity. Create. So, happy creating. Lastly, would also like to see your recommendations in the comment section as to whom you would like to see in the hot seat. Until next time, this is your RJ Rapid Rashmi signing out of another deep, interesting episode with one and only Mr. Prakash Belawadi. Thank you.